What the hell is this doing near my piano?
That's what Gerald Thornton said, in front of 300 people. About a 14-year-old black boy who hadn't even touched a single key yet. Nobody told him to stop. They just watched. Thornton pointed at the door, voice dripping with disgust.
Go back to whatever hood you crawled out of. This instrument has standards your bloodline can't meet.
The room laughed. The boy stood there, jaw tight, eyes locked on the piano, not on Thornton. Then he said 3 words no one expected.
You done, sir?
He walked to the bench, sat down, placed his fingers on the keys, and what poured out of that Steinway over the next 4 minutes didn't just silence the room. It broke Gerald Thornton in front of everyone who'd ever feared him. Man, that Steinway broke a grown man in 4 minutes. Who is this kid? And how? But before we get to that auditorium, you need to understand where Byron Patterson came from. Because what he did on that stage didn't come from nowhere. It came from a place most people in that room couldn't even imagine. Church Hill, Richmond, Virginia. If you've never been there, picture this. Narrow row houses packed tight like teeth in a jaw. Cracked sidewalks where the weeds have long since won the war against concrete. Chain-link fences rusting at the hinges. The smell of magnolia mixing with diesel from the freight trains that rumble through every night, around 2 a.m, shaking the windows hard enough to rattle the dishes in the kitchen cabinet. That's where Byron grew up. Not in a house, in his grandmother's house. There's a difference, because the house didn't belong to him. Nothing really did. Claudette Patterson was 68 years old and built like a woman who had carried things heavier than groceries her whole life. She worked 3 days a week as a home health aide, bathing other people's parents, lifting other people's fathers out of wheelchairs, driving 40 minutes each way on a bus that was never on time. Her knees ached every morning. Her hands were rough and cracked at the knuckles. But her house, that narrow little row house with the peeling paint on the porch rail, was spotless. Every surface wiped, every cushion straight, every dish washed before bed. She raised Byron because nobody else would. His mother, Angela, died when he was 6. An aneurysm. No warning, no symptoms. Just a Tuesday afternoon when she didn't pick him up from school and a neighbor found her on the kitchen floor with the stove still on. Byron didn't understand it then. He understood it now. The way you understand a scar. You stop noticing it, but it never goes away. His father lasted about a year after that. Not because he died, because he disappeared. Packed a bag one Thursday while Claudette was at work and Byron was at school. Left a note on the counter that said, "I can't do this." 3 words. No return address. No phone call since. So it was just Byron and Claudette. A boy and his grandmother in a house with 1 working bathroom. A kitchen where the faucet dripped no matter how hard you twisted it. And the living room dominated by one thing. An upright piano. That piano was older than Byron, older than his mother. It had belonged to Claudette's sister, who'd passed it down before moving to Baltimore in the 90s. The keys were yellowed, like old paper. 2 of the black keys stuck if you pressed too hard. The tuning drifted flat every few months, and Claudette couldn't afford to get it fixed more than once a year. But she polished it every Sunday with lemon oil, the same way she polished the picture frames on the mantel. Because some things you take care of, not because they're valuable, but because they're yours. Byron first touched that piano when he was 4. Not because anyone told him to, because the sound pulled him. Claudette used to tell the story the same way every time. She was in the kitchen, making rice, and she heard a single note from the living room, then another, then a third. She walked in and found Byron standing on his toes, reaching up to the keyboard, pressing keys one at a time with his index finger, his head tilted like he was listening for something specific. She didn't stop him. She just watched. The real teaching came from Rosemary Cole, 78 years old, pianist at Greater Hope Baptist Church for over 4 decades, fingers bent with arthritis, but still faster than most people half her age. She noticed Byron during Sunday services, not because he was loud or restless like the other kids, because he was still, completely, unnervingly still. Sitting in the pew with his eyes half closed, his small body swaying slightly, absorbing every note like his skin was a microphone. After service one Sunday, Rosemary walked over to Claudette and said, "That boy doesn't just hear the music. He lives inside it." She started teaching him that same week. No method books, no theory sheets. She taught the way she'd learned, by ear, by feel, by repetition. Gospel first, then hymns, then spirituals. She'd play a passage once, and Byron would play it back. Not perfectly, not at first, but close. Always close. And by the third try, exact. By the time he was 10, Byron could play any hymn in the Greater Hope songbook after hearing it once. By 12, he'd moved beyond what Rosemary could teach him. Not because she wasn't good enough, because his hunger was bigger than any one teacher could feed. That's when he found YouTube. On a phone with a cracked screen that Claudette had bought secondhand for $40, Byron discovered Chopin, then Debussy, then Rachmaninoff. He'd watch performances on that tiny screen, propped up on the piano's music stand, and teach himself the pieces note by note. No sheet music, no conservatory, just a cracked phone, a busted piano, and hours, endless, stubborn, grinding hours, after school, after homework, after helping Claudette with dishes, until his fingers ached and his eyes burned. Rosemary came by one evening and heard him playing a Chopin nocturne through the screen door. She stood on the porch for a full minute before knocking. When Claudette let her in, Rosemary sat in the armchair and listened until he finished. Then she looked at Claudette with an expression that was equal parts wonder and sadness. "That boy doesn't just play the piano," she said. "He speaks through it."